Over 80% of viewers aren't subscribed. Be sure to hit that button, it would mean a lot as I push the channel to 40,000. No aircraft is 100% perfect, but for each respective customer, different aircraft bring different capabilities that can be viewed in some cases as game-changing for the future of the respective business. I have discussed the A321neo's importance within the market and how it can be considered near perfect, if you will, for some airlines, and it's time to switch focus to Boeing, this time with their proposed NMA that hasn't gotten off the ground. What could this aircraft have promised and delivered if it had been produced, and would it have been a worthy investment for customers? The Boeing new mid-size airplane, or middle-of-the-market airliner, was a proposed jet aimed to fill the market gap between the single-aisle 737 MAX and the larger 787 Dreamliner. A hole that, yes, was previously filled by the 757 and the 767, and while some would still say that's still present, you'd actually be 100% correct. But not necessarily if we're taking a look at production. While Boeing works on the 767 freighter, in terms of its passenger portfolio that it offers customers, aircraft that are produced between the MAX and Dreamliner don't exist. Boeing viewed the NMA as a type that would address airlines' demand for fuel-efficient, mid-size aircraft with fantastic range capabilities. All in all, the plane would help cater to the trend that has only grown of point-to-point travel and the ability to connect secondary markets spanning some distance, rather than diverting traffic through a major hub. Despite initial enthusiasm, Boeing faced several company-wide challenges that meant such a plane was put on the back burner until the 2030s. So now you're all caught up, let's examine this plane and the possibilities around it, beginning with why a customer may have ordered the aircraft, or why a customer in this sense was interested in such a possibility of a plane. Airlines can order aircraft, as we know, for several reasons, but focusing on some of the primary factors, it can be A, to replace existing planes, or B, to facilitate future growth in markets that this respective airline sees potential in. For customers who had eyed up the NMA numerous times, the jet was viewed as a genuinely dedicated replacement for the 757 and some 767 variants. The 757, as we know, is a pretty popular narrowbody known for its versatility, but it is aging and production ceased now towards the early 2000s. Meanwhile, the Boeing 767 isn't getting any younger either, and some customers have moved towards the 787 or A350, even the A330neo, to help replace some of these aircraft types, but nothing has remained between the MAX and the 787. The NMA was identified as a type that could suit mid-size markets, where previously these aircraft thrived. However, some would also go on to say that the 737 MAX series wouldn't work as a dedicated 757 replacement, and the 787 could be viewed in some instances as either too large or its capabilities exceeded what a respective customer would require. Essentially speaking, the plane would be too good for them. Ultimately, for the interested parties, the NMA aimed to position itself as a versatile, but also compelling option for those seeking the modernization of their fleets, whether with, again, reiterating fleet replacement efforts, or those with a general view to grow their operations into new markets. Remember, towards the latter stages of the 2010s, analysts said just how lucrative the middle-of-the-market sector would be for aircraft manufacturers, as it became a new direction that airlines would tread. The Boeing NMA would have also marked a new era for Boeing, representing their first clean sheet type since the 787 Dreamliner's entry into service, which is now some time ago. While development costs would have been high, as this would not be a simple re-engine, the aircraft, if it had been proceeded with, would have harbored substantial levels of efficiency, alongside operational flexibility for its customers. Boeing would have tailored variants specifically to fill niches in the market that would have seen a wide array of airlines looking towards it to fulfill their needs for operating. These last few sentences may seem strikingly similar to another aircraft type being offered, and if you guessed the A321neo, well done, you're correct. The lack of an NMA has actually allowed Airbus to put a substantial amount of money into further developing the A321neo program to enhance its capabilities to meet more niches. The latest iteration has been the A321XLR. That plane is not certified and has hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds in reserve because these customers need a plane of this type's capabilities. The case could have been made if Boeing had had proceeded with their NMA as well, that competition would have intensified drastically, and maybe Airbus's movements in the sector would have been different. In terms of other perks of the NMA, meaning a new era for Boeing, would have also seen a focus on range. To slot in this sector adequately, the aircraft would have needed to harbour some of the newest features within the industry, but one of the most important areas of consideration would have been this plane's ability to reach specific ports globally. This aligns with the shifting trends that we see in our industry. Take a single-aisle or even a modest twin-aisle aircraft that was offered 30 years ago and compare its purpose then to now, and it has changed drastically. We're now seeing these A321XLRs debut and flying 7 to 8 hours, if not longer. The prospective Boeing NMA would have had a substantial amount of capabilities that would have led it to be a very desirable option for customers. Remember, if it didn't harbour all new technologies and such, it wouldn't succeed in the market. Boeing would have needed to ensure that it wasn't too similar to the 737 MAX or the 787 and naturally fitted into this sector I speak of. While airlines move on to other pastures, thanks to the lack of Boeing's offering, it's important to remember that there were many companies right around the world, from airlines to those in the leasing space, that were actually holding out for Boeing's release of such an aircraft type, rather than switching allegiances to Airbus. But see, Boeing faced so many critical issues, some in their control and some out of theirs, that priority shifted elsewhere. In addition, they said that they would prefer to wait and see the technology that would become available later down the line. When Boeing does come out with a new aircraft, do you believe, with all the technological advancements the plane maker is betting on, that this new type will truly have a revolutionary feel for airlines and maybe be that perfect aircraft? Or are these hopes, ambitions, all resting on the ability to see technology that currently remains unproven, proven? It's certainly a risky proposition, but I'd love to hear your take down below in the comments. And to really summarize, the Boeing NMA, which made headlines again throughout the latter stages of the 2010s for its possibilities that it would provide to carriers, would have harbored substantial improvements on the 757 and the 767, and what many people would say just perfectly fit in between the MAX and Dreamliner offering. The reality is, though, even with the 737-10 and the 787-8, which are the respective largest and smallest variants of the two aforementioned series, there is nothing that adequately replaces the 757, at least per customers that have been screaming out for an NMA for some time. Now, though, Boeing will focus on the new era, streamlining, taking a look at some of the exciting new technology that we're seeing being studied now, and see how potential implementation into their next commercial aircraft can take place. Thank you very much for tuning into this video here on GlobeTrotting. I hope you're taking care and also being safe during the festive period, whether that is spent with friends, family, or alone. Please do take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.